Okay. So for our next session of our IELTS masterclass, we'll be discussing the IELTS, the listening test. It's the first test that you'll be taking for IELTS. Or it depends on the schedule. It's either you take the speaking exam first, or it would be IELTS plus reading or writing. Yeah. So it's a first test. So for everybody, it would be the first test that they will be taking. It's IELTS listening. It is very challenging for a variety of reasons. Why? Because you will only hear the recording once. So it's very important that you have to be very attentive during the exam. Because if you miss it, you won't be able to answer the questions. Again, it is very challenging because as the exam progresses, it will get more difficult. There would be a variety of question types, so we will be discussing the question types later. I'll give you some samples, so at least you wouldn't be surprised during the exam. Oh, mom didn't discuss about this question type, so I'll give you the examples for the question types. Again, you must be very focused when answering the listening test, because it's very important. If you miss the recording, yeah, as mentioned earlier, you won't be able to know the answer. Then you have to develop your skills at predicting answers. And how do you develop your skills and how do you develop the skills? You have to analyze the questions. That's why it's very important for us to know the different types of questions at the listening exam. So there would be a range of English accents, but majority would be British, the British accent. So it's very important for you as a test taker or for examinee to how do you do that? To always listen to to a person who speaks British English, I mean. So you would hear various speakers from the UK, from the United Kingdom, from Australia, from New Zealand and North Africa. But then again, majority would be the British accent. If you would hear accents from Australia, New Zealand, or North America meaning USA or Canada, you would be listening to the neutral or the standard accents. So don't worry, you wouldn't hear people speaking from, say, a Scottish accent. If you watch Braveheart, that's a Scottish accent. Our Irish accents, they're quite difficult to listen to if you're not used to it. So you wouldn't hear any Irish accent. Usually they say if it's neutral, it would be, say, if it's from the UK, it would be an accent from London. If it's from Australia, it would be an accent from Sydney or Melbourne. It would be the main cities. So don't worry also if it's an American accent. You wouldn't hear somebody who would be speaking a Texan accent, those cowboy types of accents. So they're quite difficult to understand also. So for America, you would hear people speaking from, say, California or San Francisco. Yeah, San Francisco. Yeah, California or, say, New York. It's the main cities. And hopefully you wouldn't hear somebody speaking from New Zealand or a Kiwi accent. Anyway, sometimes they sound the same like the Australian accent. So it's also good to just get used to it. So again, what is a neutral accent? Yeah, you will only hear the neutral accent. It's different for each country, but then it's just associated with the main cities in each country. So for example, I'll give you some accents, some example of people speaking like from London. So it's good that you hear let's say people speaking. Listen to BBC Radio. Try to listen to Dame Judi Dench. She's a British actress. Or listen to Benedict Cumberbatch. Benedict Cumberbatch he starred in Doctor Strange. So, and just check on this link also. It's an international dialects of English archives, and you would find different kinds of accents there. So it's a good example. It's a good resource. So just visit this link later. Anyway, I've sent you by WeTransfer today the copy of this PowerPoint, so you can review this later also. So let's listen to Dame Judy Dench.
How did you learn? It's like you have a sense of poetry that is.
Oh wait. Can you listen to it? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Yes, we can.
Right?
Yeah, can hear.
That's great. Okay. So just to be on the safe side, okay, I'll just meet you again, and let's listen to Judy Dench, I mean.
It's innate, that it's like a natural musician. Did you always know?
I don't think so. I think I was taught that.
Taught by
Peter Hall and John Barton and Trevor Nunn and you. All the people I've worked with. And Peter, when he yes, it's true, Rich. And when Peter Hall directs, he stands at a lectern, and you'd be rehearsing in front of him, and he would be looking at the lectern, and he would beat out the meter. I have to tell you, can I tell you a very quick story about Antony and Cleopatra, when he was trying to get the meter of her death right with Miranda Richardson and Helen Fitzgerald, and he was trying to say, oh, alas, alas, our noble lady's dead. And then it goes on and on like that. And we couldn't, it was only meant to be called for an hour and a half. It went on the whole morning, and I was lying there like this, pretending to be dead. And eventually he said, alas, alas, our noble lady.
How did you learn? It's like...
Oh, okay, usually for Filipinos, we're used to listening to American accents. I think for you guys in India, Rose, I think you grew up listening to the British accent because you were colonized by the British.
Yes, so it's like sometime even American, because I worked there, so it was American curriculum, so that's why.
Ah, okay. So it's quite easier for you. But I think for us Filipinos, especially for us, we're used to listening to American accents. So I always advise my students to practice listening to people speaking in British English. And hopefully, like, anyway, a lot of our colleagues here in the UAE, our work colleagues, they're from the UK. So hopefully, like, we get, a lot of my students get to practice also. But then if you're not used to listening to the British accent, so listen to these actresses or actors. So, or listen, follow BBC Radio. That's what I advise to everybody. Okay. Let's. Another person to listen to is Benedict Cumberbatch. So just watch Doctor Strange. Yeah, I think is he the one on Doctor Strange? I think yeah. So let's listen.
Hello, I'm Benedict Cumberbatch, and I'm here for two reasons. Firstly, to kindly invite you and a guest, yes, that's you, to join me for tea in Los Angeles and attend the red carpet premiere of Avengers: Infinity War. Secondly, I'm here to show you the secret to making the perfect cup of tea. Now, the trick to making a truly perfect cup of tea is to coax out the tea's natural essence and subtle flavours by ever so gently vocalising your desire. You want to make the tea feel comfortable at this point, so, help the tea let its hair down, let it relax, let it steep in your passion. That's it, darling. Take your time.
Okay, I'm just sharing an excerpt anyway. So if you're new to listening, especially when you search on YouTube, say search for Benedict Cumberbatch talking, put on the subtitles, so at least you can, hopefully the subtitles are correct. So if in case you have some difficulty, say listening to the correct, if you have difficulty, say understanding the words, at least you would know what's the correct word on the subtitle. Or if not, if you have a Netflix account, turn on the subtitles for English and read the subtitles. That's for first, if you have, that's if you're having difficulty. But then if not, okay, turn off the subtitles. It would be easier for you and practice listening to people. British people. Okay? So next. Okay, sometimes you would also find an Australian accent during the exam. So it's either you would hear people from Sydney or Melbourne, the main cities. So say listen to Hugh Jackman, Margot Robbie, who else? Nicole Kidman, Rebel Wilson. Rebel Wilson is, I like her. She's an actress on Pitch Perfect, like big like me. So I like her a lot. Anyway, this is an example. I think this is
No.
yes.
Royal. It's at this Royal Palace place. Sorry, I was just told backstage that no one's getting a massive gift bag tonight. Yeah, instead you're all getting a gifting wallet. Yeah, which is funny because that's also the nickname of my vagina. So maybe it is me who'll win Best Original Score at the after party tonight. Dress by sewing two old dresses together. The red is from that one time I didn't win Miss Australia. And the black is from a funeral I just went to.
So that's a sample of an Australian accent. Another famous actor from the Down Under is Hugh Jackman. He starred as Wolverine, or what else were his?
Come on. Look at, I'm sitting across from the Wolverine. I got to man up a little bit. I got to man up.
I can wear what I want.
I've been following this film a long time. There's a period of time in which the great Darren Aronofsky was going to direct it.
Yep.
I was wondering, what was the biggest difference between their two visions? What was the difference between what Mr. Aronofsky was going to do versus what James Mangold ended up doing?
Not as big as you'd imagine, because Darren, like James, really responded to the original script that Chris McQuarrie wrote, because it was so strong, and it was one of those ones he wrote in like 3 weeks, we did have Scott Frank come on board. We had others come on board just to help define it, but really not that different. And Darren, who's a great mate of mine who couldn't do the movie, had some great ideas, which we nicked. And I told you, I'm nicking those ideas.
Are you?
Yeah. Don't worry, I'm taking them.
Okay, that's good to know. Is there any truth to the rumor that there was potentially going to be an R rating for this movie?
Yeah, no, we talked about it.
So class, a good way to practice is to listen to your favorite actors, especially if you're into films. A good way to practice for the listening exam is listen to your favorite actors speak. Just search them on YouTube. So if you feel bored answering your practice tests, just go online, check YouTube, and listen to your actors talk, right? So it wouldn't be, your review session wouldn't be that boring. Okay, so another accent that you would listen to during the IELTS exam is people speaking from, say, America or from Canada. Again, as earlier mentioned, if it's from America, you will only hear people speaking, say, from California or from the East. So not that of the Boston accent, but a neutral accent, a New Yorker neutral accent. So if it's Canadian accent, say you would listen to somebody speaking from Vancouver or Toronto. The problem with Canadians is sometimes they speak French, so it's a bit difficult, so don't worry. Anyway, again, majority of the accents that you would listen to during the listening exam is that of an accent from the UK, a Brit accent. Okay, let's move. So again, what to expect, it's dominated by the British, because it's an IELTS exam, and the exam is made by Cambridge. Or either sometimes, okay, you would listen to somebody who has a British accent, and say he's speaking with an American professor. So those are the instances where the accents would be mixed. So what's the format of the listening test? Approximately, it's just 30 minutes and you have 10 minutes transfer time. So 30 minutes, you would listen to the recording for 30 minutes. Then after that, you have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. That's for the paper-based exam. For the computer-based exam, immediately after the recording, you're asked to answer on the computer. So that's the difference. You would be answering 40 questions. It's 1 point per question. So the types of questions that you would encounter would be multiple choice, matching plan, map, or diagram labeling. We will have these examples later and you would listen and answer to this type of questions. Don't worry. Form and note completion, table completion, flowchart completion, summary completion, sentence completion, and short answer questions. They're quite easy. The only challenging part is sometimes you can't understand the accent, or they spoke too fast for you, so you miss the vital information. So that's just a problem. So I'll show you the answer sheet later. Only the answers you write on the answer sheet will be marked. So this is the sample of an answer sheet. So it's you just need to write your name, fill in the, if it's a test take, just fill in these boxes. This one, and you have to write your answers here. So you really need to follow directions. If they ask for letters, just write letters. If they ask for words, just write words. Never fill this up. This one. That's for the marker. So that's the sample of the answer sheet. Okay, so after you listen to the final passage, after 30 minutes, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Because usually sometimes it's either, okay, you have your pencil with you, you can transfer it directly if you want. Or sometimes you can write on the answer booklet. You're allowed to do that. Then you transfer it on the answer sheet. Anyway, okay, use this time to write carefully and neatly. It's very important that your letters are very neat. Probably, anyway, hopefully you write legibly, because it's very important that the grader could read your answer. And misspellings, wrong spellings are always marked incorrect. So it's very important that you have the correct spelling. So there are 4 sections to the IELTS listening exam. And for each section, there would be 10 questions. Again, as mentioned earlier, as you progress through the exam, it really gets more difficult or tougher. So passage 1, it's usually a conversation between 2 people. It's in a social setting. So basically, it would be an exchange of information wherein either somebody would be ordering on the telephone or confirming a reservation for a restaurant reservation, or say somebody asking how much is a ticket. When for example, when you ride the bus, right? So you ask the conductor or the bus driver for, let's say you ask how much is the ticket, or where can I get a bus ticket, or do I need something or to fill, something like that. Those basic questions. So it's a day-to-day, it's a social day-to-day setting. So it's quite easy. So passage number 2, it's a monologue. So you'll find somebody, a person speaking and explaining something. So usually for this type of, for this section, you would find, say somebody explaining a diagram or a map, or say some exams you would hear a tourist guide explaining, say, the features of a building or this monument, something like that. So it's a monologue. So passage number 3, it's challenging because it would be, say, sometimes you would hear 3 people speaking and they would be talking about some like academic topic. So it's either also you might hear some students discussing in a class. They would be discussing a topic or a paper that they're supposed to write, something like that. Or if they have a project, you would hear their meeting. So those are the kinds of recording that you will listen to for the part 3 of this listening test. So for part 4, passage number 4, you would hear, say, a lecture from a professor. So don't worry, it's not important that you're specialized in that certain subject matter. You just listen to it anyway. It's just tough because, so you would hear a more complex vocabulary probably, so that's why it's tougher. Okay, so what's the scoring? So it's always 1 point for each question. What else? What else? So it's very important. Oh, wait. When you listen to the, let's say you listen to the recording, you say number 2, you were able, okay, you were listening to the recording and okay, number 1, number 2, number 3, and you heard the answer already for number 3. Unfortunately, because it's in a progression, you already missed the answers for number 1 and number 2. So make sure that you really need to be very focused when listening to the recording, because if you missed 1, you cannot go back. So okay, so this is the band score for the listening exam. So if your raw score is 39 or 40 points, your band score is 9. So it's easy for you to get a perfect score in the listening exam, don't worry. And majority of the students, it's either they get a perfect score or they get a very high score for the listening exam or for the reading exam. So these are the easy parts of the exam. Of the IELTS exam, I mean. Okay, so what are the guidelines for the IELTS listening exam? So make sure you write the correct type of answer on your final answer sheet. So if, for example, if it's a multiple choice question, they would only ask you to put A, B, or C. So just put A, B, or C. Don't put A and the answer. We have this thing in Filipino, like we say we want to be sigurista. Like you have to be sure. That's the meaning of it. So some students, they would say, just to be on the safe side, I will put A, then the answer beside it. No, if the instructions say just put the letter, you have to put the letter. Regardless if you put A and the answer beside it, they will not give you a 0.5 score. It would be a 0. So it's very important to follow directions, because that's also part of assessing your proficiency in English, if you can understand or if you can follow directions. So always, students, it's very important. I always repeat this instruction to my students. Always follow. Okay. What else? So for example, this is their direction. You may not use more than 2 words and or a number. So you are given different options. For example, this is the way you should answer. So it says no more than 2 words and or a number. So on your answer sheet, your answer could either be number 1, these are the options, 2 words, or another possible answer would be a 1 word. Another possible answer is a number. Another possible answer is 2 words and a number. Or the last option would be 1 word and a number. So those are the possible scenario or answers or options if this is the instruction. So it says no more than 3 words. So what are your options? It's 3 words, or 2 words, or 1 word, a number, 3 words and a number, 2 words and a number, 1 word and a number. So those are your options. Say no more than 4 words and or a number. So what are your options? It would be 4 words, 3 words, 2 words, 1 word, a number, 4 words and a number, 3 words and a number, 2 words and a number, and 1 word and a number. Those are your options, especially if this is the direction. So take note of that, class, okay? Okay, so what should be your listening strategy when answering, your strategy, I mean, when answering for the listening exam? First thing anyway is you have to analyze the questions. The good thing is before you will listen to the recording during the exam, they will give you time to look at your question booklet, or they will give you time to look at the answers. That's how you predict for the answers. So for example, when you read the questions, say some of the questions would say, what is the name? What is the address? Oh, my internet connection is. So you have to listen to names. You have to put it in your notes. You have to jot down for names, all the names. You have to jot down for all the numbers. Say sizes of stuff. You have to jot it down. Then you just to cross it out later if that is not the option or something. Because it's very important. You have to read the questions. Don't waste your time thinking like I missed the answer to the previous recording. No. If it's your time to look at the questions, just focus on the questions because that's the time for you. So later you can predict what kind of answers you have to listen to during the recording. Okay? So analyze the questions so you can predict the answers. Then track the questions and the speaker. So listen to the recording after. So as mentioned earlier, before each recording, IELTS will give you 30 to 40 seconds to look at the questions in the next section. So some students will use this time to check their answers from the previous section. That's a no-no, okay? You have to study for the next questions, okay? Yeah, very important to study the upcoming questions. Okay, so again, what's the best approach? First, you should analyze the question. Quickly determine what type of question. What do the questions ask? Do the questions ask for directions? So you have to listen to some, let's say, to the proper words like right, left, across, opposite. Do the questions ask for answers with letters, answers with numbers, answers with words or other phrases, something like that, or colors? What are the keywords? So also don't assume that the answers will be given directly on the recording because some answers are paraphrased. So that's why if you have reviewed your textbook, your IELTS textbook, one important skill there is paraphrasing. That's why I always tell my students to practice on their paraphrasing skills because you would use it for listening, for reading, for writing, and for speaking. So that's one of the important skills in IELTS. You can paraphrase. So basically your goal is to keep track of where the speaker is in the passage and which question you should be answering in the question booklet at the same time. Okay? So always, as mentioned, again, I always keep on repeating this anyway for the IELTS exam. The IELTS listening questions, they always come in order. So the speaker will provide the answer to question number 1 first before providing the answer to question number 2 and so on and so forth. So it's like filling in some notes during a class session. Okay, so let's go to the different question types. So one question type is a short answer. So I'll give you an example. Okay, wait. Mute. Are you still okay, everybody? Okay. So
Yes.
prepare your notes because you'll start answering, okay? You start practicing a bit. Mute all. Okay, so this is a short answer question. So look at the questions. Say, okay, section 2, so it's a bit more difficult. So write no more than 3 words and or a number. So on your paper, you have to write 3 words. Your answer should be around 3 words, 2 words, 1 word, or it could be a number only, or it could be also a combination of 3 words and a number, a combination of 2 words and a number, and a combination of 1 word and a number. So those are your options for your answers. So what 2 factors can make social contact in a foreign country difficult? So look, listen for these 2 factors during the recording later. What type of community group does the speaker give examples of? So when you hear, let's say, theater, okay, listen now to the other answers, to 13 and 14. Which 2 places can information about community activities be found? So look for places that were mentioned during the recording. Okay, so let's start. Hopefully, okay.
You will hear an extract from a talk given to a group who are going to stay in the UK.
Good evening and welcome to the British Council. My name is John Parker and I've been asked to talk to you briefly about certain aspects of life in the UK before you actually go there. So I'm going to talk first about the best ways of making social contacts there. Now, you might be wondering why it should be necessary. After all, we meet people all the time. But when you're living in a foreign country, it can be more difficult, not just because of the language, but because customs may be different. If you're going to work in the UK, you will probably be living in private accommodation, so it won't be quite so easy to meet people. But there are still things that you can do to help yourself. First of all, you can get involved in activities in your local community. Join a group of some kind. For example, you'll probably find that there are theatre groups who might be looking for actors, set designers and so on. Or if you play an instrument, you could join music groups in your area. Or if you like the idea of finding out about local history, there'll be a group for that too. These are just examples. And the best place to get information about things like this are either the town hall or the public library. Libraries in the UK perform quite a broad range of functions nowadays. They're not just confined to lending books, although that's their main role, of course.
Okay. So class, what 2 factors can make social contact in a country difficult? Anybody can answer.
Culture.
Language.
Culture, ma'am.
Come again?
Culture.
What else?
Social gathering.
Okay. Okay, later we'll see the answers. What type of community group does the speaker give examples of? This is quite easy.
Music group.
Okay, what else?
Local history.
Yeah, history groups or local history groups. Yeah, it's anyway 3 words, right? Okay, in which 2 places can information about community activities be found? This is also very easy.
Town hall.
Library.
Okay.
Public
And
Town hall and public library.
Public library.
Yeah.
unfortunately, usually for when the recording begins, that's where you students have a difficulty like focusing, right? It's
True.
quite difficult, yes. But then as you progress through the exam, like in the middle part or the last part, you always get the correct answer.
I hope so.
Yeah. So anyway, that takes practice. So, okay, what's the answer?
You will hear an extract from a talk.
Okay. So, so language or customs. I think somebody answered, yeah, earlier, customs and language. So it's okay in either order.
Language or customs.
music groups or local history groups. So it's either you can put music, one word, music groups, 2 words, or like local history groups. So those are the options. So number 15 and 16, again, in either order, public libraries and town hall. Okay. I've also placed the tape script or transcript. So later you can also read on it while you listen to the recording. Anyway, I've sent this on PowerPoint so you can practice on it, right? So later, just read on it. Okay. So another example is a multiple choice exam. So again, it's very important. If the instruction will say, just write A, B, or C on your answer sheet, just write A, B, and C, okay? So let's listen to, I'm sorry. Just put you on mute. So let's listen to a sample. Wait. What's this? Where are we now? Okay. So again, I'll give you time to study the questions. So it's question 9 to 10. You're asked to choose, for the answer should be either A, B, or C. So it's type of insurance chosen. Is it economy, standard, or premium? So it's A, B, or C. And customer wants goods delivered to the port, to the home, or to the depot. So let's listen. Okay, everybody. Let's listen to the recording.
Okay, right. Now, obviously, insurance is an important thing to consider, and our companies are able to offer very good rates in a number of different all-inclusive packages.
Sorry, could you explain a bit more?
Yes, sorry. There's really 3 rates according to quality of insurance cover. There's the highest comprehensive cover, which is premium rate. Then there's standard rate, and then there's economy rate. That one will only cover the cost of the contents second hand.
Oh, I've been stung before with economy insurance, so I'll go for the highest.
Mm-hmm. And can I just check, would you want home delivery or to a local depot, or would you want to pick it up at the nearest port?
The port would be fine. I've got transport that end.
Fine. And will you be paying by credit card?
Can I pay by check?
Okay. So what's the answer for number 9?
C, premium.
Premium. Premium.
C.
You would see, right? It
Premium.
Exactly.
So C. Sorry, C.
Yeah,
C.
during the recording class, it was mentioned the highest. It's very important. Like the answers are paraphrased.
Yes.
Okay. Number 10.
A.
A.
Should be delivered to the port. Okay.
Okay, right.
Wait. So C and A, those are the answers. And this is the transcript. So later you can read on it also, if you just want to practice. So another question type is form completion. So for form completion, some examples would be, they would ask you to fill in, it's a fill in the blank type. So it's very important that you have the correct spelling. If it's a phone number, it doesn't matter if it's like you put how many spaces. So it's okay. So have a look at this type of question. So your answer, you should write no more than 3 words and or a number. Again, so what are your options if it's no more than 3 words? Your options would be 3 words, 2 words, 1 word, a number, 3 words and a number, 2 words and a number, and 1 word and a number. So those are the types of answers that you could put. Those are your options. So for example, class?
Can you make it bigger? Di ko makita.
Oh, hindi.
Ay, ganyan na lang. Alright.
Nasa PowerPoint. Anyway, later, class. Anyway, the PowerPoint, you have the copy of the PowerPoint later.
Copy.
I'm not sure if you can also zoom in. Kaya nyo ba mag-zoom in dyan? Sa tablet nyo, if in case? Or sa telephone? Now, anyway, let's read. Okay, name. So, number 1 is it would ask for, let's say, a surname. So, listen for a surname. Number 2, it would be an address. So, listen to an address. Number 3, it would be a UK postcode. So, a UK postcode it's a combination of letters and numbers. So, you have to listen to that. Number 4 is you listen to a measurement. So, it's in meters. So, listen to numbers in meters. Height also. Number 5. So, listen. Number 6, it would ask for contents. So, the container would include clothes. Number 6, what other stuff are packaged there. Number 8, what's the value? So those are the type of questions or the type of answers that you have to listen to the recording, okay? I know it's quite small, so but anyway, I could see it from my laptop. So anyway, let's listen. Wait, I'll just mute everybody. Wait.
You will hear a telephone conversation between a customer and an agent at a company which ships large boxes overseas.
Good morning. Packham's shipping agents. Can I help you?
Oh, yes. I'm ringing to make inquiries about sending a large box, a container, back home to Kenya from the UK.
Yes, of course. Would you like me to try and find some quotations for you?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I need a few details from you.
Fine.
Can I take your name?
It's Jacob Mkere.
Can you spell your surname, please?
Yes, it's Mkere.
Is that M for mother?
Yes.
Thank you. And you say that you will be sending the box to Kenya?
That's right.
And where would you like the box picked up from?
From college, if possible.
Yes, of course. I'll take down the address now.
It's Westall College.
Is that Westall?
Yes, college.
Westall College. And where's that?
It's Downlands Road in Bristol.
Oh, yes,
Oh, sorry. Happened.
You will hear a telephone conversation between a customer and an agent at a company which ships large...
Sorry, class.
9PU.
That Westall?
Yes, college.
Westall College. And where's that?
It's Downlands Road in Bristol.
Oh, yes, I know it. And the postcode?
It's BS8 9PU.
Right. And I need to know the size.
Yes, I've measured it carefully and it's 1.5 metres long.
Right.
0.75 metres wide.
Okay.
And it's 0.5 metres high or deep.
Great. So I'll calculate the volume in a moment and get some quotes for that. But first, can you tell me, very generally, what will be in the box?
Yes, there's mostly clothes.
Okay.
And there's some books.
Okay, good. Anything else?
Yes, there's also some toys.
Okay, and what is the total value, do you think, of the contents?
Well, the main costs are the clothes and the books. They'll be about £1,500. But then the toys are about another 200, so I'd put down £1,700.
Okay. Hope everybody... Wait. Okay. So, number 1. Oh, hirap. Oh, I cannot zoom in. Okay, number 1. What's the answer, Jacob?
Mercury.
K.
M-K-E-R-E.
Yes, M-K-E-R-E. So, number 2.
R-E.
Number 2, class.
Best all college.
That's all.
Number
Okay,
2
number
is Vestall.
W-E.
W-E-S-T-A-L-L.
So this is the answer. Class, if
W-E-S-T-L.
your background is quite noisy.
ES89PU. Yes, right. Okay.
Yes. You would, when you listen to the recording, you would hear some not. Not is 0.
Yes, I was confused there. Yes, I did not get that.
No, I had some Indian students, they say you use it in India.
No. I'm not from India, but still, I didn't hear this. This is for my first time. Yes.
Oh, okay. Because for us, like a lot of my students, like, oh, it's their first time hearing not.
No, I'm from Pakistan actually. It's I know, yeah. O or 0 can be like we can understand. O is also a 0 sometimes, but this is different for me.
Ah, okay. So so some people they would use not for 0 in place of 0. So if you would notice, class, it didn't say exactly like width, right? They mentioned during the recording wide, also for length or how long. So it's very important. So it's either in either order, number 6 or number 7. You can answer some books or books only, some toys or toys only. And again, for number 8, it's 1,700 pounds.
Yes.
You don't need to put the pound sign because anyway, on the question booklet, the pound sign was already written there. So no need to repeat the pound sign.
Fine.
And it's very important. Sometimes when you listen to the recording, you would mention a lot of numbers, right? Like say, okay, the clothes and the books they cost this one. So just take down those stuff. And anyway, you can mark it or cross it out later. That's how you should take notes. Just take all the relevant information that you think you need, and later you can cross it out. So just in case, like, for example, you miss some recordings, you can make a smart guess later, as long as you have your notes, right? So just take good notes. It's very important, especially during the listening exam. So this is the transcript. You can have a look at this later, so you can review also. Okay, so another type of question type is sentence completion. Let's just fill in the blanks again. So I'll give you an example. So this one, this is section 3. So it's a bit more, it's tougher, it's a bit more difficult. So you're asked no more than 2 words. So your answer should be 1 word or 2 words only, class, okay? So listen to the answers for this. Studying with the Open University demanded a great deal of what? So listen to that. Studying and working at the same time improved Rachel's blank skills. So what kind of skills were improved? It was helpful that the course was structured in what way? So that's for number 29. Number 30, she enjoyed meeting other students at, so where? So look for that answer or listen to for that answer. Okay, let's unmute you all again. And let's listen to the recording.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was, did you find it hard studying with the Open University?
You mean because you're studying on your own most of the time? Well, it took me a while to get used to it. I found I needed to maintain a high level of motivation because it's so different from school. There's no one saying, "Why haven't you written your assignment yet?" and that sort of thing.
Oh, dear.
You'll learn it, Paul. Another thing was that I got very good at time management because I had to fit time for studying round a full-time job.
Well, I'm hoping to change to working part-time, so that'll help.
What makes it easier is that the degree is made up of modules, so you can take time off between them if you need to. It isn't like a traditional 3 or 4 year course where you've got to do the whole thing of it in one go.
Oh, that's good, because I'd like to spend 6 months travelling next year.
Huh, it's all right for some. Then, even though you're mostly studying at home, remember you've got tutors to help you, and from time to time there are summer schools. They usually last a week. They're great because you meet all the other people struggling with the same things as you.
Oh.
I've made some really good friends that way.
Sounds good. So how do I apply?
Okay. So, number 27. Studying with the Open University demanded a great deal of what?
Time management?
No, another. That's for 28 actually. That's the answer for 28.
Motivation?
Yes. It says the phrase that was used was high level of motivation. So it's either you can answer motivation or high motivation. Right? Number 28 is improve Rachel's time
management.
Yes, time management skills. Okay. Number 29, it was helpful that the course was structured in. It was easy.
6 months?
No, it was structured in modules.
Module.
She enjoyed meeting other students at that I didn't listen to. Wait, the answer to that was there, summer school.
Summer school.
Okay, summer school.
So,
it's really tough. Yes.
So at first, anyway, really it's tough at first. Especially now. For example, anyway, these are just examples. And later again, you will have a full exam. After this lesson, you'll have a full exam. So don't worry if you get a low score. Because it's just practice anyway. It's just the first time. Because you get used to the questions. Then again, you also get used to the people speaking. So, and later, once you practice anyway, you get to know like, okay, where do I get the answers? What do I expect? And at least for now, sometimes you, maybe you're a bit nervous. So don't worry. Actually, what I did was, I had a class before. So it was the first session. And the first thing I did was give them an exam, the listening exam. And it was the first session. So a lot of them, I think, maybe didn't get the proper answer. So during my next session, a lot of them maybe drop out. Maybe they were thinking like, oh, I don't want to take the IELTS anymore because it would take a lot of preparation. But I tell them, it does. If you really want to get the score that you want, you really need to prepare. But then if you just want to get a 6, it's easy. 6, 6.5, it's quite easy. But if you want to get 7, 7.5, 8, okay, just work hard for it. Okay? So don't worry. 1 month of preparation, 2 months of preparation, there's no rush. You would improve. There's always room for improvement, class, as long as you work hard, okay? So don't worry.
True.
Right? Yes. Okay, let's go to the next session. Okay, again, that's the transcript or tape script. They call it tape script. So have a look at that. Read that later. So in case you feel like, where did they get the answer? How did they formulate? How did they record? How did they talk? Like that. So listen to this while you listen to the record. Read this while you listen to the recording. It's also a good way to practice. Okay. So another one is, it's a map or a diagram question. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes you get questions, easy questions like this. Sometimes these types of questions are challenging also. But it depends on the type of test that you get. actually. So, yeah, I hope for people.
You'll hear the librarian.
Wait. Okay. So class, this is section 2. So a little bit difficult. So you need to answer questions 11 to 15. You have to choose 5 answers from the box. So this is the box. So it's A to I. So your answer should either be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So you will listen to a recording and it will describe, okay, number 11, what is this room for? Is it the art collection room? Is it the children's book room? Is it the computer room? And so on and so forth. Number 12, like that. Is it a periodical room, multimedia room? Is it the meeting room? So that's the type of question that you will, those are the answers that you should listen to, okay? So, okay, let's put you on mute, everybody, and let's listen to the recording.
You'll hear the librarian of a new town library talking to a group of people who are visiting the library.
Okay, everyone. So, here we are at the entrance to the town library. My name is Anne, and I'm the chief librarian here, and you'll usually find me at the desk just by the main entrance here. So, I'd like to tell you a bit about the way the library is organised and what you'll find where. And you should all have a plan in front of you. Well, as you see, my desk is just on your right as you go in. And opposite this, the first room on your left has an excellent collection of reference books and is also a place where people can read or study peacefully. Just beyond the librarian's desk on the right is a room where we have up-to-date periodicals such as newspapers and magazines. And this room also has a photocopier, in case you want to copy any of the articles. If you carry straight on, you'll come into a large room, and this is the main library area. There is fiction in the shelves on the left, and non-fiction materials on your right, and on the shelves on the far wall, there is an excellent collection of books relating to local history. We're hoping to add a section on local tourist attractions too, later in the year. Through the far door in the library, just past the fiction shelves, is a seminar room, and that can be booked for meetings or talks. And next door to that is the children's library, which has a good collection of stories and picture books for the under 11s. Then there's a large room to the right of the library area. That's the multimedia collection, where you can borrow DVDs and so on. And we also have CD-ROMs you can borrow to use on your computer at home. It was originally the art collection, but that's been moved to another building. And that's about it.
Okay. Okay, class. This is a bit easier, right?
Yes.
And anyway, I was giving you some guide.
Yes.
So number 11, what's number 11?
Is I?
H.
Age. Age reference books. Okay, number 12.
G.
G.
Periodical.
Number 13.
D. Local history collection.
Okay, number 14.
B.
B. Children's books.
B, okay. Number 15.
Number 15 is F. Meeting room. Multimedia.
There's also...
You'll hear the...
So it's H, G, D as in dog, B as in boy, and F as in father. Correct?
Yes, exactly. Correct.
It's easier, right? It's when you progress, when you listen to more recordings, No, actually, some map diagram questions, they're a bit difficult. This one is easy. Yes, this is quite easy. I've given some practice exams to some students, and I gave them a bit difficult diagram question. So I found it also difficult, but this one is easy actually. So again, this is the transcript or the tape script. So have a look at this later for practice. So okay, another question type is a matching type. So what's a matching question type? So this is the example. Okay. So this is part 3. So it's really challenging. So you need to answer questions 21 to 25. So for each one, this would be a talk between Jack and his tutor or advisor. Usually when you go for university or college in other countries, you would always have an advisor or tutor. And they would tell you, or sometimes for us, we have guidance counselors also. And they could advise you on what subjects to take, especially if you have this track, if you're into a science track or a social studies track, or it depends on your course. So for this, for example, the discussion would be, wait class, let's mute. So the discussion would be media studies. For example, will Jack do it? Will he enroll? Will he or he may not, or he won't do it? So that's the you would listen to that type of recording. Again, women and power studies or subject. Will he do it? Will he or may not do it, or he won't do it? So it's either A, B, or C. So your answer is 21, A, B, or C. 22, is it A, B, or C? 23, A, B, or C? Like that. Okay? Are you ready? So let's play.
You will hear a communication studies student talking to his tutor about optional courses for the next semester.
Come in. Oh, hello, Jack. Have a seat. Right. You said you wanted to see me to talk about your options next semester?
That's right. We have to decide by the end of next week. Really, I'd like to do all 5 options, but we have to choose 2, don't we?
Yes, but the choice depends on your major to some extent. You're majoring in communication studies, aren't you?
That's right.
So, for example, the media studies option will cover quite a lot of the same area you did in the core module on mass communications this semester, the development of the media through the last 2 centuries in relation to political and social issues.
Well, that was interesting, but I've decided I'd rather do something completely new. There's a women's studies option, isn't there?
Yes, women and power. Again, it has a historical focus. It aims to contextualize women's studies by looking at the legal and social situation in the 19th and early 20th centuries.
So it would be useful if I intended to specialize in women's studies, but I'm not sure I do actually.
Well, it might still be useful to give you an idea of the issues involved. It's taught by Dr. Steed.
Oh, really? I'll sign up for that then. What about the option on culture and society?
That addresses the historical debate on the place of culture since the Industrial Revolution in Britain.
So, a historical focus again?
Do I get the message you're not so keen on history?
Well, it's just that we seem to have done quite a lot this semester. Anyway, I'll think about that one.
If you're interested in a course focusing on current issues, there's the option on identity and popular culture. That approaches the subject through things like contemporary film, adverts, soap operas, and so on.
That sounds interesting. Can you tell me who runs it?
Well, it's normally Dr. Stevens, but he's on sabbatical next semester, so I'm not sure who will be running it. It should be decided by next week, though.
Right. Well, I might wait until then to decide. And the last option is Introduction to Cultural Theory, isn't it? I'm quite interested in that too. I was talking to one of the second-year students, and she said it was really useful. It made a lot of things fall into place.
Yes, but in fact, in your major, you'll have covered a lot of that already in Communications 102, so that might be less useful than some of the others.
Oh, I'll forget about that one then.
Now, while you're here, we could also discuss how you're getting on with your core module assignment.
Okay, class. So let's see. Number 21, is it A, B, or C?
C.
D.
C.
Yeah.
Because, did you hear the phrase, he decided to do something completely new?
Yes.
So it should be C. Number 22, is it
A.
A, because he mentioned something like, I'll sign up, right?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Okay. Number 23.
B.
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 Yes, yeah, because he says, I'll think about it.
Yes.
Yes. So he may or may not do it. Number
Yes.
24.
B.
B, because he'll wait for the other speaker.
Yes, he said next week, or yeah, wait or next week, right?
Yes.
Number 25.
C.
Yeah, because there was this forget about that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Let's see if is it correct. Let's see if you're correct. There. C-A-B-B-C. Right. We're correct. Okay. Again, that's a transcript. Okay, another sample is, it's a flow chart or note. This one is for note completion. So you just need to fill in the blanks again. So let's have a look at the example. So for this part, it's part 2. Again, have a look at the instructions. No more than 3 words and or a number, class. So this would be somebody talking about the National Arts Center. So it's well known for what? Listen to that, especially for the first part. I know it's difficult for us to answer the first part. The complex consists of concert rooms, etc., etc. And number 12, what else? What kind of rooms or other stuff do they have? Historical background. So 1960s, center was, say, opened again or built. That's a kind of answer that you should be looking for. Number 14, you have to look for a year, probably, because that's the pattern. So say 1970s, 1980s, it was open to the public, right? Number 15, who manages the National Arts Center? So listen for that answer. Number 16, so how many days in a year is it open? So it's a number. So listen for a number during the recording. Okay? So let's start. Sorry. Okay.
Section 2. You will hear a radio broadcast called Focus on the Arts. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16 on page 4.
So that's around 20 seconds. They usually give you 20 to 30 seconds to look at the questions.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Hello, and welcome to Focus on the Arts. I'm your host, Dave Green, and this is your very own local radio programme. Every Friday evening, we put the spotlight on different arts and culture facilities and look at the shows and events that are on offer in the coming week. And today, the focus is on the National Arts Centre. Now, if you don't already know it yourself, I'm sure you've all heard of it. It's famous throughout the world as one of the major venues for classical music. But did you know that it's actually much more than just a place to hear concerts? The centre itself is a huge complex that caters for a great range of arts. Under a single roof it houses concert rooms, theatres, cinemas, art galleries and a wonderful public library, as well as service facilities including 3 restaurants and a bookshop. So, at any one time, the choice of entertainment there is simply enormous. So, how did they manage to build such a big arts complex right in the heart of the city? Well, the area was completely destroyed by bombs during the war in 1940. So the opportunity was taken to create a cultural centre that would be what they called the city's gift to the nation. Of course, it took a while for such a big project to get started, but it was planned in the 60s, built in the 70s, and eventually opened to the public in 1983. Ever since then, it has proved to be a great success. It's not privately owned, like many arts centres, but is still in public hands. It's run by the City Council. Both our National Symphony Orchestra and National Theatre Company were involved in the planning of the project, and they're now based there, giving regular performances every week. And as the centre is open 363 days of the year, there are plenty of performances to choose from.
Before you hear the rest of the broadcast, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20.
Okay. So the National Arts Center is well known for
Classical music.
classical music. Yes. Number 12.
Bookshop.
Shelves.
Bookshop.
Shop. Number 13 center was
1983 or 1970?
no. It shouldn't be a date. Center was what happened to it.
It started, I think, 1970.
No. During the 1960s, center was something happened to it. Wait.
I don't have answer.
Wait, let's repeat that, okay? Because we don't have the answer key for that, eh? For this, I mean. Okay.
But it was planned in the 60s, built in the 70s, and eventually opened to the public in 1983. Ever since then, it has proved to be a great success, still in public hands.
Did you hear that? In 1960, center was planned, right? Then blah, 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 blah. And in 19 something, it was open to the public.
Yes.
1983.
83
Yes.
they opened.
Yes. So managed by the
Public.
City Camp?
City Council.
City Council, yes.
And it's open how many days in a year?
363.
Yes. Okay. Let's go to the other.
Section 2.
Wait. Okay. So this is the continuation. It's another note completion. We don't have the answer key for this, unfortunately, but it's easy. So you have to, number 17, again, take note, class, ha? No more than 3 words and or a number. What's that? Okay. Venue, it's either, okay, cinema 1, cinema 2, or what, gallery 1, gallery 2. Event, what's the event for number 18? Number 19, how much is the ticket price? So look for numbers or prices. Again, number 20, what's the event? So let's listen to it.
Before you hear the rest of the broadcast, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20 on page 5. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
So, To give you some idea of what's on, and to help you choose from the many possibilities, we've made a selection of the star attractions. If you're interested in classical music, then we recommend you go along to the National on either Monday or Tuesday evening at 7:30 for a spectacular production of The Magic Flute, probably the most popular of all Mozart's operas. It's in the Garden Hall, and tickets start at only £8, but you'll have to be early if you want to get them that cheap. And remember, it's only on for those 2 evenings. For those more interested in the cinema, you might like to see the new Canadian film, which is showing on Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. in Cinema 2. And that's called 3 Lives. It's had fantastic reviews, and tickets cost just £4.50, which is a reduction on the usual price of £5.50. So, it's really good value, especially for such a great movie. But you can see the centre's main attraction at the weekend, because on Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m, they're showing a wonderful new exhibition that hasn't been seen anywhere else in Europe yet. It's a collection of Chinese art called Faces of China. That's in Gallery 1, and it has some really fascinating paintings and sculptures by leading artists from all over China. And the good news is that it's completely free, so don't miss it. So why not go along to the National Arts Centre next week?
Okay, let's answer. Number 17. Where's the venue hall?
Garden Hall.
Yes, Garden Hall. Number 18. What's the Canadian?
3 Lives.
3
Lives.
3 Lives. Okay. Number 19. How much is the ticket?
Faces of China.
Pounds.
4.5 pounds, right? Take
Yes.
note of they mentioned like 5.5 pounds. So
Yeah,
this is
Yes,
was
4.50.
before the discount, they said, right?
Mhm.
So make sure. Number 20.
Faces of China.
Faces of China.
Chinese art.
Yes. The Faces of China.
Yeah.
Okay, answer. Listen to the recording again later, okay? On your own.
Section 2.
Okay, so I'll give you class. We will have the listening practice test, say after 15 minutes. We have a 15-minute break, okay?
Okay.
Wait, new share. So see you after 15 minutes.
All right.
Yes, 15. Okay. See you later, class.
Ano to, ano sila usapan? Yung positive. Break time. 15. Break time. Ano to, dahil saan talaga sa ito? Ano ko sa'yo sa'yo? Malaaral pa yun sa... Ang galing ko po ko. Yan mo na sila. Kabahan ako. Okay na yun kita.
Also black. So I find it the best. So milk is. So now pages more milk. So this is brown. I think that's your finished with it. So so I think it's the tulip is now finished the tulip. So I give it to Mom and milk. Then he gives the milk. As the crunchy. So we put the wet one at time. So now this is my mommy. Now it's chocolate. But Mom, so one, two left. And turn. And finally, I try to find how from so huh? Grammar is literally you perfectly see I got my picture. I can everything. Now, and I'm not looking for it's so much fun. Try to find it in my Apple find Boy, I put it in my mommy is back. I just put it. My mommy, I put it because I put it. So I didn't trick my mommy and so they and they trick my mom and so I opened the sky and I older. So now I candy. I candy chocolate. Oh.
Okay, 19 seconds more. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, hey class. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Okay, before we proceed with the practice exam, there are websites that could help you or Facebook groups that could help you practice for your listening exam. Now, actually, just to practice your ear. So, I would suggest, like, could you see my Chrome, right? I hope
Yes.
everybody can see it.
Yes, yes, we
Okay.
can.
So, this is a good website. It's TED.com. So it's worth watching the videos. So just visit this website, and for example, sometimes I would tell my students, listen to stuff that you're passionate about. So just research what you like, what subjects you like, and just listen to them. At least your ear, you at the same time you're learning something, at the same time you're practicing your ear. So, or sometimes they also have topics, English topics, like how to improve your vocabulary. So just so use this search button and you'll find those subjects. Another one is teacher. Okay, sino yung maingay? Mute ko nga yung iba. Mute ko kayo lahat. I'll just mute you all. Okay. Okay. Sorry. So Stitcher, it's another website or another app. You can download it on your Apple or Android telephones. So it's an app and you listen to podcasts. And you can choose whatever topics you want. You can listen to news, some shows. If you want, like, what else? Yeah, Joe Rogan, but he's American, so you can, maybe try to choose again BBC or something related to something where, anyway, it's good. Just listen to, choose whatever podcast, and you can listen to it while you're washing, while on commute, when you're on the train or on the bus. You listen to a podcast. Another good one is listen to Google Podcast also. Google Podcast. Download this app also on your telephone. Because it's good. Even if you have also children in the house. I think some of you have children, you have some children in the house. So you could also listen to some stories. Stories narrated by, who is that actress from The Sound of Music? I forgot something. Julie Andrews, yes. She's her accent also, I think it's British, right? So you can listen to her narrate a story, a children's story. So it's also a good practice for you. So try to download this. Again, the bbc.co.uk. You can listen on this program, or you can follow BBC Radio on Facebook. On Facebook, let's say BBC Radio. You saw my Facebook account. So follow them. Follow BBC Radio 1, News, Radio 2, especially the news. It's good. Watch it on video. Read the news. At least you could practice on your reading skills also. So it's a good thing. Follow BBC News. Another good thing is Radio Garden. This is radio around the world. So for example, you can listen to radio stations found in Dubai, for example. So if you move this map, so if you try to move this map, say you want to go to, let me make this smaller. So if you want to go to Philippines, for example, you just miss anyway. If you just miss Philippines, I can go. How to make this smaller? Aww. Anyway, you can make it smaller and look for different countries. Okay, so if you want, you go to the UK list, listen to the local stations there. How to make this smaller? I don't know why. Or you can search, say, country or city. Let's say go to London. Say it would bring you to London, and you can listen to any radio stations there. Say Soul of London.
To the best soul station in London, the Soul of London Radio. So I've actually watched a film this week called, I think it's called...
This is quite good, right? So for example, you want to listen to a radio station in Sydney, at least. So choose any radio station. What is this? Totally Radio 90s.
You in that negative zone? I need you to do me a
mini rafale شنو
on shining through. Haven't known you that long.
So if you want to go to other countries and listen to how they talk, it's also a good thing if you're homeschooling your children. It's also a good thing. They could study geography also, so there's a side topic anyway. So that's good. Wait, what else? So that's a good topic. Oh.
Welcome to...
Okay, never mind. So are you ready for the exam? Let's start with the exam. Okay, class. Have a prepare paper and number it 1 to 40. Okay. Just number it 1 to 40. Let's see if we have enough time. Would you like to have 2 exams or just 1 exam? And we'll call it quits. What do you think, guys? Do you want to have 1 exam? That's 40 minutes. Or 2 exams today? Oh, let's see.
Let's see, ma'am. Let's see how tough this first exam.
Yeah, let's see. Probably.
Yeah, let's try.
Because on the PowerPoint, I put 3 practice exams, okay, for listening. So you can also finish it on your own later, just in case. If you're just tired, anyway, also for... Because usually for me, my listening discussion, it takes more than 1.5 hours. And we're quite fast today.
Yeah.
So I usually have just 1 exam. But I think it's very early. So I was thinking maybe we can do 2 exams, but let's see. I know some of you are tired. Especially it's a 3-hour class.
3 hours from morning, 3 hours from you, and then 3 hours later.
So, okay, so wait. Let's do the exam. Where's my PowerPoint? Okay, any questions before I'll play the exam?
No.
Nothing, right? So it's okay. So I'll mute everybody. So we can start with the exam. So prepare. So this is the first part.
Welcome to this IELTS listening practice test. Get a piece of paper and a pen, and you can write down your answers as you do the test. At the end of the test, we will go through all of the answers. There are 40 questions. So let's start the test. First, listen to the instructions.
You will hear a number of different recordings and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Now turn to Section 1. Section 1. You will hear a woman ordering some goods from a mail order company by telephone. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 8. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the first part of the conversation and answer questions 1 to 8.
Cosmic Home Delivery. My name is Gary. How may I help you today?
Hello, I'd like to place an order.
Certainly, madam. I'm afraid our computer system crashed earlier today. I'll have to take the details down on paper and then enter them later when it's been fixed. Is that okay?
Yes, of course.
So, can I take your name, please?
Yes, it's Alexandra Hornby.
Sorry, could you spell the surname for me? H...
Yes, then O-R-N-B-Y.
Oh, fine. And then your address.
That's number 28 Wood Road, which is in Ilford, I-L-F-O-R-D, and that's near Northchester. The postcode's NC1 2FR.
Thank you. And do you have an account with us?
I do. I've got the number here. 944-56781. Is that long enough?
8 digits? Yes, it is. Good. Now, what would you like to order today?
I want a coffee table. I think there's only the one type.
I expect so. Perhaps you can tell me the price. I can use that to check later, just in case there's more than one.
Yes, it's £39.99p.
Fine. Sorry about all these extra questions.
It's no problem at all.
Now, that size of order value does mean you're entitled to a free gift. Did you want to take up that option on this occasion?
Yes, I do. I've already got a calculator like the one on offer, but I do like the look of the handbag, so I'd like one of those, please.
Certainly. And can I just check, as an account holder, you may have been sent a voucher.
Oh, yes, for a discount. Let me see.
The reference number will probably start with the letter D.
It does, and it continues BR29.
Great. Now, how would you like your order delivered? There's standard service within a week, and then express, which comes within 2 days, or special, which means it arrives the same day.
Special would be ideal, but I know it's a bit expensive, so I'll make do with express, I think. Standard is very slow.
It is, to be honest.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at questions 9 and 10. Now listen and answer questions 9 and 10.
Well, that's your order completed. Could I just trouble you for another minute or so to ask you a couple of questions to help us improve our service as much as possible?
Yes.
Firstly, we do like to try and keep a record of how customers have heard of Cosmic Mail Order. How did you? Was it from our advertising campaign?
Oh, I think I would have remembered any advertisements, on TV, for example. I only read newspapers occasionally, so that would have passed me by. A friend of mine had been using you for years and encouraged me to give it a go, so I looked on the internet to find you to see what was available on the site.
That's great, thank you. The second thing is, we're thinking of introducing a number of promotional offers.
Oh, yes, I got a little brochure about them with my last order. I've got the list here.
So can I ask which ones appeal to you?
Well, let's see. There's quite a few things here that don't really apply to me, actually. For example, my mobile phone bills are so low that I hardly notice them. Likewise, they shut down the local cinema. I do enjoy a meal out, though, so that discount could be of interest. And I like to get away at weekends when I can, and some of the places you want to visit are expensive, so it'd be lovely if they became cheaper. As for planes, well, I haven't been abroad for a while now, and in any case, I prefer the train where possible.
Fine. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Not at all.
Section 2. You will hear a trainer giving a talk to a group of cyclists. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully to the first part of the talk and answer questions 11 to 15.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to see that so many of you made it, even on an evening as rainy as tonight. OK, now, whether you're new to cycling as a sport or are returning to it after some years' absence, I'll just go over a few basic points. Now, race preparation is a complex business, and there are many factors to consider. The first area of concern is mechanical. Now, this involves the machine itself, that is, your bike, and also, no less importantly in fact, clothing. This will protect your body and aid your performance, providing you wear the right kit. The next area to concern yourselves with is the mental. This is you as a person. You can have the best bike in the world, but you won't get the most out of it if you don't have the right mindset. So, tactics are important to consider. Another factor which is essential to a good performance is determination. You need to feel this so that you can really push yourselves to your limits. To accompany this, you also need knowledge of your bike, yourself, physics, other riders, the course, and so on. Finally, strange though it may seem after all I've said so far, you need relaxation. If you can't switch off sometimes, you won't get to recharge your batteries. OK, and that takes us on to the physical side of race preparation. The first and perhaps most obvious aspect of this is training, and we'll come to some of the details of that in a minute. Another important aspect to pay attention to is diet, and you'll soon find that if you don't eat well, you won't see yourselves performing as well as you might. Then there's also the question of style, and you'll need to learn to develop the most effective ways for each of you to deliver your performance. And the details of this depend on which kind of event you're competing in. And finally, you need to take body care into account. You need to stay healthy in order to be able to give of your best. Right, those are the basic ingredients of race preparation.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen to the rest of the talk and answer questions 16 to 20.
Now I'd like to turn your attention to some of the details of a good training regime and what you should and shouldn't do through the year. Let's consider various activities in turn. The first thing to think about is circuit training. This is an indoor series of gym exercises designed to work on all parts of your body. This starts as the racing season closes with the end of summer and continues right through the cold season and stops you going off the boil when you aren't competing. It's extremely beneficial, although I would stress you do need a qualified gym instructor to tell you how to do it properly. Next, weight training. This is also very good for cyclists, and it tops up the natural strength that cycling produces. Exercises need to be arranged as part of a carefully calculated routine, and this routine needs to be sensibly followed. It's a good idea for continuity to carry on using weights throughout the year, as you can lose strength just as quickly as you can gain it. Something simpler and requiring no equipment is mobility work. While cycling has a great many benefits for the body, it doesn't work every part of it, and indeed keeps some parts locked in pretty much the same position. So exercises that involve twisting and turning and generally promoting flexibility are advisable before the start of each race throughout the summer season. Another important activity is pleasure riding. Perhaps this doesn't sound so important to you, but you don't race all year, and when you do race, it's pretty hard riding. So you can sometimes forget that cycling is actually basically a fun thing to do. So, when you hang up your racing bike at the end of the summer, get out another bike and go for some gentler, enjoyable rides during the winter. Weather permitting, of course. And finally, running. This is, of course, another sport in its own right, and for this reason some cyclists are rather sniffy about it. However, it is good exercise and maintains aerobic fitness very effectively. But it is rather hard on the knees and in different ways from cycling, so you're best advised to keep your running to out of the racing season and wrap up well against the cold when you do go. So, now I'd like to say a little bit about...
section 3, you will hear 3 students, Anna, Jane and Mark, planning a project about cinema on their Media Studies course. First, you have time to look at questions 21 to 23. Now listen to the first part of the conversation and answer questions 21 to 23.
So, Jane, Mark, we need to press on with the assignment.
Yes, we do, Anna.
And we need to begin by going to the best sources of information.
Right. Now, we're looking into how films get altered sometimes if they're not going to do very well.
We need to know quite detailed things. So, ordinary magazines, you know, leisure interest ones, may lack the detail we're after. Specialist magazines, on the other hand, will probably be helpful.
I think that's true.
OK, so we'll root out some of those. And what else?
There ought to be stuff available online.
But we'll have to be selective.
Sure, not general cinema websites, you mean?
I think it'd be useful to go onto studio websites. Then we'd get pretty specific information.
Even if it might be a bit biased. Yes, OK. Anything else?
I think we also need to think about the point of consumption, so perhaps reviews would be good to look through.
OK, though we'll get most by looking at local reviews, I think.
I agree.
Good.
Now you have time to look at questions 24 and 25. Now listen to the next part of the conversation and answer questions 24 and 25.
So far, so good. Now we'll gather all that together. We can take one source each, and then...
I don't know.
About what, Jane?
I mean, OK, so we get all this stuff, probably loads of it, but do we know how to assess the usefulness of it? I know it'll all be factual and so true in that sense, but we need to know what it can really tell us.
Perhaps we should cross that bridge when we come to it. Mark?
Yes, though I think Jane's got a point. But the problem for me is the context we're working in. We've got the assignment instructions, and in a sense, it's all very straightforward. We know which parts are worth how many marks and so forth. But the focus seems to be heavily on the objective and quantitative side of things, whereas I would be hoping to be asked for more interpretative work. And there would have to be time to do that within the framework we've been given.
Well, again, I think we should just see how we go with it.
Now you have time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen to the final part of the conversation and answer questions 26 to 30.
Should we check that we're clear on just how films are altered?
Good idea. We'll list the various cures that filmmakers use when a film looks like it might be going to fail.
The first one is called Tweak Every Joke. Sometimes they change lots of the jokes after showing the first version to a test audience. Comedy is the only film genre with a reliable formula. The more the audience laugh, the more income the film gets.
And it's not very funny if your film makes a loss.
And the next one they call Change the Ending. Occasionally they completely change the way a film ends. It seems a bit strange maybe, but the problem is it's far from easy to know in advance what reaction you'll get from an audience. So if it turns out after all that the test audience doesn't like your ending, you've no choice but to do another one.
What's the third one?
That'd be fix the tone. If, for example, your film begins as a kind of gentle comedy, but then gets too serious or horror-like, audiences get confused.
So one thing that really matters is being consistent, you mean?
Yes, oh, that's the logic. I think audiences don't want to have to switch track.
It's more complicated than people imagine, isn't it? Now, the next cure is a big one. Reshoot. This may seem drastic, but in some cases it's the only option available. It's very expensive, of course, but the film's backers will see this as protecting their investment.
Are there any others?
One more, and it's another big one, or at least has the potential to be a big one. It's shift the genre. And this is done when the test audience seem to only like one half of the equation, as it were. Maybe you made a musical, but they only like your comedy storyline, not the songs. So you do it all again without the songs. It could broaden the film's appeal, get a wider audience.
It's weird to think how much extra work has gone into some films, isn't it?
Section 4. You will hear a talk about the history of the Mediterranean Sea. First, you have time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen to the first part of the talk and answer questions 31 to 37.
Now, in looking at the history of anywhere, we need to accompany our discussion of the facts with some consideration of what facts mean, or which facts have meaning.
Now listen to the first part of the talk and answer questions 31 to 37.
Now, in looking at the history of anywhere, we need to accompany our discussion of the facts with some consideration of what facts mean, or which facts have meaning. But more of that later. Let's start with looking at one very important period of the history of the Mediterranean, the period of Roman influence. This was born out of the death of Alexander the Great. His grip on the area went, and what directly ensued was a period of intense conflict which focused on the eastern Mediterranean, as opponents sought to gain control of that area. Rome began to emerge from this as a potential dominant force, but obstacles such as a lack of overall planning, and in particular the ever-present menace of piracy, lay in the way of success. Gradually, the Romans improved the power of their ships and fighting equipment. They also formed a series of alliances, which effectively reduced the size and number of enemies, and a key measure they took was creating an office of government specifically charged with repairing their fleets. However many ships they and their enemies had, Rome from now on would have the highest proportion out, patrolling and fighting. There were, of course, no engines in ships in those days, and another aspect in the battle for supremacy was speed through human effort. Rivals built ships with ever-increasing numbers of oars, but what really mattered was the amount of human pulling strength attached to each one, and the Romans, benefiting from their great population of slaves, was able to have every oar pulling faster and harder than anyone else's. Eventually, Rome's dominance was more or less complete. Their possession of the sea became their enjoyment of the sea. Their name for the Mediterranean translates as our sea, and that's how they saw it. The shores were, of course, by now very well fortified, but now the Romans began also to demonstrate their comfort in power and put up a great many large houses, visible far out to sea. Wealthy merchants and retired generals lived in leisure in these temples to their own prosperity. The maritime security of the Mediterranean and the immense availability of trading destinations meant that all sorts of suppliers and craft producers clustered round any reachable section of the sea's edge. Some of these settlements were small, while others were large, producing salt fish in Italy, for example, or the fish sauce that was sent to every corner of the empire from Spain. With dominance of the seaways established, the primary purpose of ships evolved from fighting other ships to transporting goods. Economics generated a drive to carry as much as possible on each trip, and as ships were built for carrying loads such as wine or stone exclusively, these types of specialized vessels led to greater cost-effectiveness. And so things continued for many years.
Now listen to the rest of the talk and answer questions 38 to 40.
However, I referred before to the question of needing to consider how to approach history. Assumptions about what history is are as varied as the historians who have made the Mediterranean the subject of their studies. 3 key historians have moulded in different ways our approaches to understanding the Mediterranean's past: Michel Ballard, Fernand Braudel, and Nicholas Horden. The first of these, Ballard, felt strongly that an approach based on examining countries around the Mediterranean as if they shaped its history was inadequate. More was to be learned, he argued, by treating the Mediterranean as one of a number of seas, such as the Black Sea and the Atlantic Ocean, and thus integrated into trading routes that stretched from Madeira to Krakow. Our second historian, Fernand Braudel, took a rather different, though related, tack. He argued that the ways societies operate, right down to their individual members' actions, is subject to permanent conditions, such as whether they inhabit mountain, plain or sea. Features of the coastline and adjacency to the waters of the Mediterranean are thus the focus of his approach. And then we can add a third way of looking at history, or at least the history of the Mediterranean, and that's the one propounded by Nicholas Horden. His arguments are asserted quite strongly, not least because he sees a greater consistency across time than many other historians have allowed for. There are those who take ecological events, particularly catastrophes such as the volcanic destruction of Pompeii, to be the shapers of different sections of the Mediterranean's history. Horden says these are simply incidents, and that the major trends ride on through them. For him, while there may be cultural mutations and fashions in types of consumer goods, what matters is the system of trading goods that satisfy primary needs, such as grain, oil, metals and timber. So, for us, out of this complex of views, our job is to seek a synthesis and form a sophisticated approach, not just to the Mediterranean, but to any time or region in history.
Okay, how did he do? Let's look at the... Well...
Oh. Okay, class.
What I should say. I've been
Ang bilis.
Okay, on the last part, I keep
easy to difficult.
Yeah, on the last part, really, I was the part. I was following the scenario, and then later on, my mind
was difficult.
Really black. It's really hard for me to absorb. Really.
I think this exam, it's a bit difficult also. I found it a bit difficult.
Yeah, I said, okay, stop. My mind's not working now.
I understand. Don't worry, class. Would you like to listen to the answers, or usually you
Yes.
have 10 minutes? You have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.
We have 10 minutes to calm down our mind.
So let's listen to the answers. Okay. I'll just mute you all, okay? Where's the answer? Wait, sorry, class. Should be around. Wait.
Section 1. And
Us, out of this...
okay, how did you do? Let's look at the answers to all of the questions, starting with section 1. And number 1 is Hornby. Remember, with the IELTS listening test, your spelling must be correct. Number 2 is Ilford. Number 3, 9445678 In the recording, it was 9445678 Number 4 is coffee table. Number 5, £39.99. So you can write it down as 39.99. Number 6, handbag. Remember the spelling is like this, Handbag. Even though she said handbag, there is a D there. Number 7, the voucher code was DBR29. You may have written BR29 because the man said the D and the woman finished the voucher code herself. Number 8 is express. Number 9, A and D. Number 10, D and E. And section 2, number 11 is clothing, 12, determination, 13, relaxation, 14, diet, 15, body care, 16 was B, 17, C, throughout the year, so it's all year round, 18 was A, 19, B, and 20 was B as well. This was a tricky one. It was in the talk the man said out of the racing season, and he told his students to wrap up to protect themselves from the cold, so it was winter, B. Section 3, 21 is a specialist magazine, 22 studio websites, 23 is reviews or local reviews, you can say as well. 24A, 25B, 26 was income, 27 reactions, 28 consistent, 29 reshoot. You can spell it with or without the hyphen, you do not need the hyphen there. 30, very difficult spelling, genre. And section 4, 31 is Eastern, 32, piracy, number 33, repairing, number 34, slaves, a great population of slaves, number 35, large houses, or you can simply write houses. Fish sauce is number 36. Specialised is 37. You can also spell specialised Z-E-D on the end. That's the American English spelling. 38 is B, 39 C, and 40 F. So how does your score compare to the band scores? So, well, if you count up your score, if you got between 9 and 15 marks, that's a band 4. For band 5, you need between 16 and 22. Band 6 between 23 and 29. Band 7, 30 to 34. Band 8, 35 to 38. And if you got 39 or 40, you will get a band 9.
How's everybody?
Band 6.
Okay.
6.
This exam, it's a bit difficult.
Yes.
Compared to some other practice exam, they're easier. Don't worry. Yes. Do you want another exam or we'll call it a day?
Yes.
Yeah, go, sure.
One more.
Okay, another.
One more.
Okay. Yeah, we still have time.
Welcome to this IELTS listening practice test. Get a piece.
It's the same? Wait, I'll just check if it's the same. Ano? Okay, let's go to number 2. Okay, it's quite fast. Okay, everybody, I'll mute you so we can start. Mute all. Yes. Mute all. Okay.
You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Section 1. You will hear a man inquiring in a tourist centre about activities suitable for families. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Hi, can I help you?
I'd like to find out if you have any excursions suitable for families.
Sure. How about taking your family for a cruise? We have a steamship that takes passengers out several times a day. It's over 100 years old.
The cruise takes place on a steamship. So steamship has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Hi, can I help you?
I'd like to find out if you have any excursions suitable for families.
Sure. How about taking your family for a cruise? We have a steamship that takes passengers out several times a day. It's over 100 years old.
That sounds interesting. How long is the trip?
About an hour and a half. And don't forget to take pictures of the mountains. They're all around you when you're on the boat and they look fantastic.
Okay. And I assume there's a cafe or something on board?
Sure. How old are your children?
My daughter's 15 and my son's 7.
Right. Well, there are various things you can do once you've crossed the lake to make a day of it. One thing that's very popular is a visit to the country farm. You're met off the boat by the farmer and he'll take you to the holding pens where the sheep are kept. Children love feeding them.
My son would love that. He really likes animals.
Well, there's also a 40-minute trek round the farm on a horse if he wants.
Do you think he'd manage it? He hasn't done that before.
Sure. It's suitable for complete beginners.
Good.
And again, visitors are welcome to explore the farm on their own, as long as they take care to close gates and so on.
There are some very beautiful gardens along the side of the lake which also belong to the farm. They'll be just at their best now. You could easily spend an hour or two there.
Okay, well, that all sounds good. And can we get lunch there?
You can, and it's very good, though it's not included in the basic cost. You pay when you get there.
Right.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
So, is there anything else to do over on that side of the lake?
Well, what you can do is take a bike over on the ship and then go on a cycling trip. There's a trail there called the Back Road. You could easily spend 3 or 4 hours exploring it, and the scenery's wonderful. They'll give you a map when you get your ticket for the cruise. There's no extra charge.
What's the trail like in terms of difficulty?
Quite challenging in places. It wouldn't be suitable for your 7-year-old. It needs someone who's got a bit more experience.
Well, my daughter loves cycling, and so do I, so maybe the two of us could go, and my wife and son could stay on the farm. That might work out quite well. But we don't have bikes here. Is there somewhere we could rent them?
Yes, there's a place here in the city. It's called Ratcheson's.
I'll just make a note of that. How do you spell it?
Ratchesons. It's just by the cruise ship terminal.
Okay.
You'd also need to pick up a repair kit for the bike from there to take along with you, and you'd need to take along a snack and some water. It'd be best to get those in the city.
Fine. That shouldn't be a problem. And I assume I can rent a helmet from the bike place.
Sure, you should definitely get that. It's a great ride, but you want to be well prepared because it's very remote. You won't see any shops round there or anywhere to stay, so you need to get back in time for the last boat.
Yeah. So what sort of prices are we looking at here?
Let's see. That'd be 1 adult and 1 child for the cruise with farm tour. That's $117, and an adult and a child for the cruise only, so that's $214 altogether. Oh, wait a minute. How old did you say your daughter was?
15.
Then I'm afraid it's $267 because she has to pay the adult fare, which is $75, instead of the child fare, which is $22. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So how do we find out?
That is the end of Section 1. Section 2. You will hear a restaurant manager talking to a small group of new staff who are starting work as kitchen assistants in a restaurant. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Joy Parkins, and I'm the restaurant manager. And I understand that none of you have had any previous experience as kitchen assistants. Well, you might be feeling a bit nervous now, but most of our kitchen assistants say they enjoy the work. Okay, they might get shouted at sometimes, but it's nothing personal, and they're pleased that they have so many different things to do, which means they never get bored. And I'll tell you straight away that if you do well, we might think about moving you up and giving you some more responsibility. Right, well, you've all shown up on time, which is an excellent start. Now, I'm glad to see none of you have unsuitable footwear, so that's good. You need to be careful as the floors can get very wet and slippery. Those of you with long hair have got it well out of the way, but some of you'll need to remove your rings and bracelets. Just put them somewhere safer today. And remember to leave them at home tomorrow, as they can be a safety hazard. Now, it's going to be a busy day for you all today. We don't have any tables free for this evening, and only a few for lunch. Fortunately, we've got our head chef back. He was away on holiday all last week, which meant the other chefs had extra work. Now, I'll tell you a bit more about the job in a minute, but first, some general regulations. For all of you, whatever your age, there's some equipment you mustn't use until you've been properly trained, like the waste disposal system, for example, for health and safety reasons. Then I think there are 2 of you here who are under 18. That's Emma and Jake, isn't it? Right, so for you 2, the meat slicer is out of bounds, and of course none of you are allowed to use the electric mixer until you've been shown how it works. Now, you may have heard that this can be a stressful job, and I have to say that can be true. You'll be working an 8-hour day for the first week, though you'll have the chance to do overtime after that as well if you want to. But however long the hours are, you'll get a break in the middle. What you will find is that you're on your feet all day long, lifting and carrying. So, if you're not fit now, you soon will be. You'll find you don't have much chance to take it easy. When someone tells you to do something, you need to do it straight away. But at least we do have a very efficient air conditioning system compared with some kitchens.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
Now, let me tell you about some of the people you need to know. So, as I said, I'm Joy Parkins, and I decide who does what during the day and how long they work for. I'll be trying to get you to work with as many different people in the kitchen as possible, so that you learn while you're on the job. One person whose name you must remember is David Field. If you injure yourself at all, even if it's really minor, you must report to him, and he'll make sure the incident is recorded and you get the appropriate treatment. He's trained to give basic treatment to staff himself, or he'll send you off somewhere else if necessary. Then there's Dexter Wills. He's the person you need to see if you smash a plate or something like that. Don't just leave it and hope no one will notice. It's really important to get things noted and replaced, or there could be problems later. And finally, there's Mike Smith. He's the member of staff who takes care of all the stores of perishables. So, if you notice we're getting low in flour or sugar or something, make sure you let him know so he can put in an order. Okay, now the next thing we need to cover.
That is the end of Section 2. Section 3. You will hear 2 students called Trudy and Stuart, who are both studying to be librarians, discussing a paper that they are going to write together. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 23. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 23.
OK, Stuart, we need to start planning our paper on public libraries. Have you thought of an angle yet?
Well, there's so much we could look into. How libraries have changed over the centuries, for instance, or how different countries organise them. What do you think, Trudy?
Maybe we should concentrate on this country and try and relate the changes in libraries to external developments, like the fact that far more people can read than a century ago, and that the local population may speak lots of different languages.
We could include something about changes in the source of funding too.
Yes, but remember we're only supposed to write a short paper, so it's probably best if we don't go into funding in any detail.
Right. Well, shall we just brainstorm a few ideas to get started?
OK. We obviously need to look at the impact of new technology, particularly the internet. Now that lots of books have been digitalised, people can access them from their own computers at home.
And if everyone did that, libraries would be obsolete.
Yes.
But the digitalised books that are available online for free are mostly out of copyright, aren't they? And copyright in this country lasts for 70 years after the author dies. So you won't find the latest bestseller or up-to-date information.
That's an important point. Anyway, I find it hard to concentrate when I'm reading a long text on a screen. I'd much rather read a physical book. And it takes longer to read on a screen.
Oh, I prefer it. I suppose it's just a personal preference.
I expect the libraries will go on evolving in the next few years. Some have already become centres where community activities take place, like local clubs meeting there. I think that'll become even more common.
I'd like to think so. And that they'll still be serving their traditional function. But I'm not so sure. There are financial implications after all. What I'm afraid will happen is that books and magazines will all disappear and there'll just be rows and rows of computers. They won't look anything like the libraries we're used to.
Well, we'll see.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 24 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 24 to 30.
I've just had an idea. Why don't we make an in-depth study of our local public library as background to our paper?
Yes, that'd be interesting. And raise all sorts of issues. Let's make a list of possible things we could ask about, then work out some sort of structure. For instance, we could interview some of the staff and find out whether the library has its own budget or if that's controlled by the local council.
And what their policies are. I know they don't allow food, but I'd love to find out what types of noise they ban. There always seems to be a lot of talking, but never music. I don't know if that's a policy or it just happens.
I've often wondered. Then there are things like how the library is affected by employment laws. I suppose there are rules about working hours, facilities for staff and so on.
Right. Then there are other issues relating to the design of the building and how customers use it, like what measures does the library take to ensure their safety? They'd need floor coverings that aren't slippery and emergency exits, for instance. Oh, and another thing, there's the question of the kind of insurance the library needs to have in case anyone gets injured.
Yes, that's something else to find out. You know something I've often wondered?
What's that?
Well, you know they've got an archive of local newspapers going back years. Well, next to it, they've got the diary of a well-known politician from the late 19th century. I wonder why it's there. Do you know what his connection was with this area?
No idea. Let's add it to our list of things to find out. Oh, I've just thought, you know, people might ask in the library about local organisations like sports clubs. Well, I wonder if they keep a database or whether they just look online.
Right. I quite fancy finding out what the differences are between a library that's open to the public and one that's part of a museum, for example. They must be very different.
Then something else I'd like to know is...
That is the end of Section 3. Section 4. You will hear part of a lecture for business students about business values. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
In public discussion of business, we take certain values for granted. Today, I'm going to talk about 4 of them: collaboration, hard work, creativity, and excellence. Most people would say they're all good things. I'm going to suggest that's an oversimple view. The trouble with these values is that they're theoretical concepts, removed from the reality of day-to-day business. Pursue values by all means, but be prepared for what may happen as a result. They can actually cause damage, which is not at all the intention. Business leaders generally try to do the right thing, but all too often the right thing backfires if those leaders adopt values without understanding and managing the side effects that arise. The values can easily get in the way of what's actually intended. Okay, so the first value I'm going to discuss is collaboration. Let me give you an example. On a management training course I once attended, we were put into groups and had to construct a bridge across a stream, using building blocks that we were given. The rule was that everyone in the team had to move at least one building block during the construction. This was intended to encourage teamwork. But it was really a job best done by one person. The other teams tried to collaborate on building the structure and descended into confusion, with everyone getting in each other's way. Our team leader solved the challenge brilliantly. She simply asked everyone in the team to move a piece a few centimetres to comply with the rule, and then let the person in the team with an aptitude for puzzles like this build it alone. We finished before any other team. My point is that the task wasn't really suited to team working, so why make it one? Teamwork can also lead to inconsistency, a common cause of poor sales. In the case of a smartphone that a certain company launched, one director wanted to target the business market, and another demanded it was aimed at consumers. The company wanted both directors to be involved, so gave the product a consumer-friendly name, but marketed it to companies. The result was that it met the needs of neither group. It would have been better to let one director or the other have his way, not both. Now, industriousness, or hard work. It's easy to mock people who say they work hard. After all, a hamster running around in a wheel is working hard and getting nowhere. Of course, hard work is valuable, but only when properly targeted. Otherwise, it wastes the resources that companies value most, time and energy, and that's bad for the organisation. There's a management model that groups people according to 4 criteria: clever, hard-working, stupid, and lazy. Here, lazy means having a rational determination not to carry out unnecessary tasks. It doesn't mean trying to avoid work altogether. Most people display 2 of these characteristics, and the most valuable people are those who are both clever and lazy. They possess intellectual clarity and they don't rush into making decisions. They come up with solutions to save the time and energy spent by the stupid and hard-working group. Instead of throwing more man-hours at a problem, the clever and lazy group looks for a more effective solution. Next, we come to creativity. This often works well. Creating an attention-grabbing TV commercial, for example, might lead to increased sales. But it isn't always a good thing. Some advertising campaigns are remembered for their creativity without having any effect on sales. This happened a few years ago with the launch of a chocolate bar. Subsequent research showed that plenty of consumers remembered the adverts, but had no idea what was being advertised. The trouble is that the creator derives pleasure from coming up with the idea and wrongly assumes the audience for the campaign will share that feeling. A company that brings out thousands of new products may seem more creative than a company that only has a few, but it may be too creative and make smaller profits. Creativity needs to be targeted to solve a problem that the company has identified. Just coming up with more and more novel products isn't necessarily a good thing. And finally, excellence. We all know companies that claim they strive for excellence, but it takes a long time to achieve excellence. In business, being first with a product is more profitable than having the best product. A major study of company performance compared pioneers, that is, companies bringing out the first version of a particular product, with followers, the companies that copied and improved on that product. The study found that the pioneers commanded an average market share of 29%, while the followers achieved less than half that, only 13%, even though their product might have been better. Insisting on excellence in everything we do is time-consuming, wastes energy, and leads to losing out on opportunities. Sometimes second-rate work is more worthwhile than excellence. Make sure it's excellent sounds like a good approach to business, but the just get started approach is likely to be more successful.
That is the end of the listening test. In the IELTS test, you would now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.
Here are the answers to the listening test.
What happened?
For section 1, number 1, mountains. 2, horse. 3, garden or gardens. 4, lunch. 5, map. 6, experience. 7, Ratchesons. Make sure your spelling is correct. 8, helmet. 9, shops. 10, 267. For section 2, 11 is A, 12 is A, 13C, 14C. 15 is A or E. 16 again, A or E. 17F, 18C, 19D, 20B. Section 3, 21B, 22C, 23C, 24 Budget, 25 Employment, 26 Safety, 27 Insurance, 28 Diary, 29 Database, 30 Museum. And section 4, 31 Damage, 32 Side Effects, 33 Bridge, 34 Confusion, 35 Smartphone, 36 Resources, 37 Unnecessary or Not Necessary, 38 Chocolate Bar, 39 Problem, and 40 Market Share. So count up your total score and you can convert that into a band score. So band 4 is 9 to 15, band 5 16 to 22, band 6 23 to 29, band 7 30 to 34, band 8 35 to 38, and band 9 39 to 40.
So how's everybody?
5.
This is easier.
Easier pa daw.
The last passage was too tough. I skipped
Five
everything.
compared to the other one. Don't worry. This is just a start. If I will give you the other practice exams for, I think, have a look at your textbook.
Yes.
Right?
True.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, have a look at your textbook. There are practice exams there. They're easier.
Yes, maybe. We'll check.
Yes, they're easier. Please, don't worry. This is just a start. Really, some exams are easy, some are difficult.
True.
But yeah, I find this a bit difficult also. But you would notice part 4, subtest 4 is really difficult, right? But
Yes.
it takes practice actually. So you would know the answers. Everything's in the recording.
Yes.
And once you practice, once you start reading also, it's just not listening, it's reading because sometimes it's your comprehension.
True.
Yes, so once you practice, don't look, if you feel like, oh my gosh, it's not so easy, I don't want to take the IELTS anymore, I'll just ask my husband, or probably I'll look for somebody who would take the IELTS for, like, okay, I wouldn't take the IELTS, I just ask my husband to review anyway, or my wife for that matter if you're the guy, because sometimes, right, you would get a higher score. So don't worry, with, say, if you're getting 5 or 6 now, month's review, you would get a higher 1 point higher, 1.2, 1.5.
Okay, good.
So don't worry.
Are you okay, Mom Rose?
I was wondering why. Oh no, I think because I gave no, this is the first time. No, this is the second time I gave practice test. This type of test. It's quite low actually. It's quite difficult because for the other practice exams that I give, for my face-to-face classes, it's quite easier. So they get 6.57. So yes.
No, it's really a good practice. Really, it's very good. We just need a practice, definitely.
And besides, we really need to open the books that
Yes.
Mom give to us, because the problem sometimes is when I started listening, and then on the section 4 it's too tough, so it makes my mind blank.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same with reading also. With listening and reading, it's the same. Sometimes if you're not that focused, you're not used to listening to English, you're not used to reading English, you will really black out.
Absolutely. So when the time I really wanted to follow, and then my mind's not working, I prefer to stop.
So, so class, we have a third exam, practice exam, included in the PowerPoint. I hope you received the WeTransfer I did earlier before the class. I've sent a copy of the PowerPoint. So if you have time, answer the third practice exam, or start also with your textbook.
Sure.
With the main textbook that I sent to you. Okay?
Sure.
So, have a happy weekend.